Year number 8, the Saturday Morning Scramble rolls on. The Saturday Morning Scramble lives on as high school football continues to be a focal point right here in the upstate of South Carolina, and high school football season is here. Good Saturday morning. I'm Cole Bryson, so good to be with you. To my right, Alex Guest, co-host of the Saturday Scramble. We're back. Can you believe it, Alex?
It is, well, with how hot it is outside, no. I can't believe that it's already football season.
It's already football season, the best time of the year.
The summer went by way too fast.
It did.
You know?
We say that every year, right?
Yeah.
The summer went by fast.
And then the season will go by even faster.
And I thought about that this morning. We'll be sitting on December the whatever and think, man, this season went by so fast. And we're live this morning at Ingalls, 8650 Asheville Highway in Spartanburg, and we would love to see you here, talk a little high school football. We've got a big show coming up right across the street from Mountain View Prep. We'll hear from Gray Ramsey and a few Mountain View Prep players this morning as well. We've also got Matt Reel making the short trek over to this side of town. Alex, head coach of the Bowling Springs Bulldogs, bringing some Bowling Springs Bulldogs this morning as well to talk high school football. But you're right, it's here. Summer flew by fast, and it's like the heat married up with football season because it was bearable, the last few weeks, and now all of a sudden extreme heat. Jamborees. Did you see on Facebook and on social media just how many jamborees in the past week had to be canceled because of the heat, the wet bulb? I saw an extraordinary amount in the lower part of the state. I think we were in a little bit better situation, but it looks like, man, if you're in the lower state the past few days, football wasn't an option because of the heat.
Yeah, and I'd imagine the humidity is probably a little bit worse in the lower state.
Yeah.
I was at the beach just a couple of weeks ago, enjoying that last little bit before getting back in the swing of things, and it was really nice. The weather was really nice up here, but it was absolutely miserable down there.
So that's a big part of it. Why are we bringing that up? Well, when you go into week one, whoa, by the way, week one,
praise.
week one, ladies and gentlemen, week one, not zero.
Yeah.
No, we're not going backwards here. Not negative
Get
one.
rid of that.
What about negative two? No, negative two. No, negative three. Week one, Alex Guest. Thank God for that, right?
Yes.
It took us a long time
goodness.
to just say, hey, let's just start at week one and start counting there, not start counting at zero. Week one, the reason I bring up the weather and a lot of these jamborees across the state being canceled, you have weather affecting these, and you just wonder, like from a coaching standpoint, how do you feel if you go into that week one game with no real good reps against quality opponents? And I think that's a big part of it.
Yeah, and Cole, you mentioned we've seen that time and time again with jamborees this week. And I can remember it wasn't too long ago. There were several teams that the first 1, 2, even sometimes 3 weeks of the season, they would start those games at 8 o'clock instead of the traditional 7:30 just to try to kind of beat some of that heat. Let the sun get a little bit lower on the horizon, let the air cool down a little bit. And I think it would not surprise me if you saw some teams do that this next week just to try to beat the heat and say, you know what, we know this was a 7:30 kickoff originally, but we're going to have to push it back to 8 o'clock.
Yeah, and that's a interesting point, too, with the wet bulb and having to beat the heat and the humidity. Last night there were a lot of scrimmages, jamborees across the upstate. Again, I think some across the lower part of the state, unfortunately, had to be canceled. But high school football season is back. We'd love to hear from you. 844-326-3663 is the way you can text in or call into the show. Again, we are live this morning at Ingalls Markets. It is 8650 Asheville Highway in Spartanburg. And Alex Guest, this is year 8 of the Saturday Morning Scramble. And what's fun is every year when you and I roll into high school football season, yes, the sport changes, just like at the college level. High school football is ever evolving, but when you get jamborees like you had last night, I don't know if it was a jamboree or a scrimmage. There's a legality term, right? Like I think you have to wait 3 days between jamboree, whatever it was. It was a kickoff.
Call it a jamboree.
I don't know. Anyways, the McDonald's Kickoff Classic, as you get closer to the season, we all love high school football, right? That's what we do. But when you see crowds last night like you do, that's the one thing that really just gets you ready. Like Clinton last night. They start off the McDonald's Kickoff Classic playing Riverside. And when you just see the crowds for a 6 o'clock game, now it's pushed back because of the weather a little bit, but the crowds for a 6 o'clock game between Clinton and Riverside, man, it fires you up. And Woodruff, Lawrence, and then I'm missing one or two games, Burns and West Charlotte and Hillcrest and Independence last night. The crowds being back involved and getting there at the high school stadiums, man, it is just so exciting. And we're thrilled that high school football is back. It was a great showing last night. There's been a lot of scrimmages within the past couple of weeks. Have you, and I believe you told me you did partake in a scrimmage earlier this week, right?
Yes, I was going to mention that because, you mentioned the crowd that was there at Burns last night on a Friday night.
Yeah.
I went to the other iteration of the McDonald's Kickoff Classic that took place in Gaffney on Monday night. And you show up on a Monday night, and no, the crowd wasn't, amazing. It wasn't great. There were some storms around the area. And you're also talking about some teams from the Midlands that are having to make 2+ hour drive to Gaffney. But, you walk into the stadium on a Monday night,
right?
And you see butts in seats and people, just the excitement and the buzz. It gets you excited, and you're standing there and you're watching, and you're just hearing the pop of pads and helmets for the first time in how long, and it's fun. It gets you excited, and here we are.
What I have to remind myself of every year is we go through the spring games and the summer and the 7-on-7s, and regardless of the team, I think I am, and not to get off on a tangent here, I think as I get older and the more high school football that I watch, Alex, I think, and we could turn this into an hour-long segment, but I think I am just more and more to the point of I hate 7-on-7s. Mm-hmm. I think they're the most pointless thing in the world. And I know that a coach, and we'll ask Coach Ramsey and Coach Reel here a little bit as well. I know quarterback timing-wise, it's important, but I'm telling you, man, the more I've followed high school football, and I think this is year 15 or something like that for me when it comes to calling games on Friday nights, I just think they're so pointless. I see 7-on-7s, and I'm like, man, just get us to fall. Nothing that happens in a 7-on-7, in my opinion, translates over to what happens on a Friday night. What happens when there's a pass rusher in your face at quarterback. And I know, think about nowadays, all the money that's spent from these high schools traveling all over the country. I mean, you got local programs, and again, I'm not bashing those programs or what they do in any sense, but you have programs that spend thousands and thousands of dollars to travel around and compete in these 7-on-7s. I'm not saying from a coaching standpoint it's not beneficial in any way, because I know it's competition and you want your kids to be in competition, but I just the longer I follow this sport, the less I see that translate onto what happens on a football field on a Friday night.
Yeah, and you got to think about it, Cole. High school football is the only place where the 7-on-7 takes place. You get to the collegiate level or the professional level, you're not doing 7-on-7s in the middle of summer. You're not. And so, yes, again, it kind of gives you a little bit of that look, so that way you can see, what are your receivers able to do? What's your quarterback able to do when he has absolutely zero pressure on him? In an ideal world, an ideal situation. But again, when you only have 14 players on the field instead of the traditional 22, it's like,
a little bit different.
What does that do for you?
Little bit different. It is the Saturday Morning Scramble. He's Alex Guest. I'm Cole Bryson. We are live. If you just tuned in, we're live this morning at Ingalls Markets, 8650 Asheville Highway in Spartanburg. We've got a fun show coming up. We've got Mountain View Prep joining us live in person. I see a bunch of the players already here. Alex, looks like they're getting
Starbucks.
I was going to say, getting that coffee in them this morning, getting going, getting energized. Matt Reel and some Bowling Springs Bulldogs joining us in a little while as well. We love having players and coaches out on location while we're here. Let's start with this. Well, not start with it. We're 10 minutes into the show. But the biggest story I feel like up until now, Alex, and you've got all the data in front of you on your amazing spreadsheets that you do such a good job with. I think the biggest story all offseason was reclassification, right? New regions. And nobody likes all the reclassification, if we're being honest. But just like in college football nowadays, we do enjoy like all the off-the-field storylines throughout the year with the Brandon Sorsby stuff, all these things to give us things to talk about. Well, guess what? We've had something to talk about this offseason with the reclassifications and new regions. And as you pull it up there, I mean, and I want to hear from our listeners as well on this at 844-326-3663. What stands out to you when it comes to, man, so where some of these teams are? And for the first time, you see teams like Gaffney, a team you pull for in 4A and 2A. And we'll talk to Mountain View Prep in a little bit about that. And, man, just a major, major shakeup, Alex.
Yeah, you know, I think one of the biggest interesting things to me is going to be especially that Week 2 matchup between Burns and Dorman. That is
non-region.
That is a traditional region matchup, and Burns is not in a region with their traditional region opponents.
Sad,
and so that's interesting to me. You know, Gaffney, we have known for a while that Gaffney's had the declining enrollment numbers, and it was kind of inevitable that this would happen, especially once the high school league kind of went. You know, you look at it, the last 4 years, 5A has had 52 plus teams in it, and now you get that down to, what does 5A have in it now? 40. So
in 5A continues to grow.
Yes.
From an enrollment standpoint,
yes.
I think the biggest thing is, touching on the point with Gaffney real quick, I think the biggest thing is you know, maybe, and you talked about Gaffney not really, not to say you're wrong. I don't know that they're losing people. I just don't know that they're growing.
They're not growing
in the way that a
right.
lot of these other 5A classifications are when it comes to enrollment, right?
Correct.
So that's seeing them drop to 4A. When you look at this whole thing from a big picture standpoint, that's the first thing that stands out. It's like, oh my gosh! I mean, they're now in 4A, and you're right. The region with the Greenville teams and the only one Spartanburg County team, and then 2A from a Greenville standpoint. You've got Crescent, West Oak, St. Joe's, Pendleton, and Liberty. Mm-hmm. And you talk about regions in 2A that are interesting. Well, that one's really interesting in a region with Crescent, West Oak, St. Joe's, Pendleton, and Liberty. I mean, it feels like that one's wide open.
Absolutely.
Open with St. Joe's obviously being a lot of good programs in there. But you feel like if you're in that region, hey, you got a good chance that no matter what the team is. Region 2A. Mountain View, Clinton, Woodruff, Southside Christian, and Landrum. And, I mean, that region a little bit, I don't want to say opposite of Region 1, 2A, but, man, the Blue Bloods in that region with Mountain View, Clinton, Woodruff, and Southside Christian's good. And then Landrum, obviously, in their second year under Mike Reed at Landrum High School. These 2A regions are interesting. Alex and I got a firsthand look at Clinton last night. Clinton's always going to be a good team, and they do what they do really well. And Corey Fountain does a tremendous job there. Woodruff and Mountain View, obviously, those three are probably looked at by a lot of people to be the favorites in that region. But your thoughts on those 2A regions in the upstate and how you think those might shake out?
Yeah, you know, I agree with you, Cole. In Region 1, 2A, where you're talking about it's Carolina, Crescent, West Oak, St. Joe's, Pendleton, Liberty, just to reiterate that. And you go back and you look at what those teams were able to do last year, try to see what those teams have coming back and the coaching. And, you know, Bobby Ruff coming in his first year at Liberty. That was a good season that Liberty had last year. What is he able to build on? I know he's got a lot of the same coaching staff that Liberty has had in the past in terms of assistant coaches. So is there going to be turmoil, I guess you could say, in terms of or would he be able to build on that? You know, Liberty, they look to probably have a good season. Crescent, they were 8-4 last year. So I would say that
we saw Liberty. You and I did last year. Remember that?
Yeah.
Was that a play? Was that a regular
that
season?
That was last game of the regular season. Yeah,
Liberty and Blacksburg.
Right before Halloween, I think.
Yeah, I remember you and I were there for that one, and talk about a wild game.
That was a wild game.
Wild game for that one, and for sure. And then on the 3A. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna kind of hit the same point in Region 2, 2A of. I would say that Mountain View and Clinton would be your favorites there, but heck, it's up in the air. Who knows?
It's up in the air, and that's
it's
fun,
Week 1.
It is. That's a fun region, though. I mean,
yes.
that is, man, you talk about just a region where you've got three really good teams, and then, again, not saying that the other two are not good teams. It's just a matter of what can Southside Christian do, what can Landrum do to compete in that region? It's going to be tough. I mean, let's just be honest. That's a tough region. And then 3A, Region 1, Pickens, Walhalla, Southside, Seneca, Daniel. And you've got 3A Region 2, Palmetto, Belton, Honeypath, Powdersville, Wren, Emerald. I mean, obviously Seneca and Pickens and Daniel, you look at those in Region 1, and I think that could be interesting. But you look at that Region 2, 3A region there, Alex, and my gosh, Powdersville, Wren, and BHP, maybe a three-horse race, if you will, just in terms of who the favorite would be in that one, because Powdersville's a great program, Wren's a great program, both kind of neighbor programs, if you will, up there in the Powdersville area. And then it all kind of just goes through David Crane, like in his first season. What a kind of weird, interesting storyline with that region as good as it is, and you have a program that's been as good as they've been in BHP that's played in, what, 2 state championships back-to-back?
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And
2 state championships. And
what David Crane does in year 1, I mean, that's fascinating.
Yeah, and, David Crane coming over from Seneca, he had the Bobcats at 10-2 last year. And so, yeah, I'd be interested. We all know what Robert Muster does at Powdersville.
Yeah.
He's the only coach that they've ever had at Powdersville going into his 15th season. And
How about that?
Anthony Freight going into season 4 over at Wren. Both of those coaches really know how to get a team going and really know how to win some games. And then, obviously, David Crane knows how to win games. He did it over at Seneca, playing a lot of the same opponents at Seneca as he will now at Belton Honeypath. And it'll be interesting to see what David Crane's able to do now getting into a new system and those Belton Honeypath players getting into that David Crane system, But at the high school level, there's only so much you really do in changing of systems.
Yeah, depending on who your players are. I mean, I think that's just a really interesting storyline.
Yeah. Really
interesting. David Crane, and you're right, he did a great job at Seneca. Did a great job. What he does this year at BHP is going to be fascinating, and I think the athletes, like, of course, they lose a couple of key pieces. They graduated some really good players, like the Thomas kid at quarterback.
Yep.
He graduates, so they lose him, and they lose some really good guys, really good players. But I think that's still a really good program, and Russell Blackston, I know that didn't end the way he wanted it to, but I think that program's still in really good shape, and
Yes.
That's going to be a fun region, man, fun region. So we'll take a break, our first break of the show. Come back. We'll be joined live in person by Mountain View Prep, talking Mountain View Prep football right here on the Saturday Morning Scramble. The conversation continues next.
Sounds fun.
make sure you add yourself
What's
back
in this
into the.
box? What is
A little MVP football this morning, little 2A football on this Saturday morning, and we have some special guests joining us. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guests joining us here in a little while. But we start with Savion Booker. He's a receiver. He's a senior. We also have Jamar Brown, linebacker. He's a sophomore. Let's start with the. I'm digging the orange shirt. I'm digging the orange shirt there, Savion. How are you, man?
Good, how are you?
I'm good. You're a senior, right?
Yes, sir.
And this Mountain View Prep football team 2026, what excites you the most? You play receiver, hopefully get a lot of catches this year. What excites you the most about the upcoming season?
The explosive offense and how our defense swarms and attacks the football.
Yeah, that's a big part of it. I mean, you're talking about offense and defense now.
Yes, sir.
You play both ways or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay, what on defense?
DB,
DB, which one do you enjoy the most?
receiver.
Really? Why is that?
I like getting the ball.
I like getting the ball. I'm with you on that. So on the defensive side of things, we'll talk to one of your new coaches in a minute, but talk about Coach Hunter, the defensive coordinator, first year, what it's been like kind of getting acclimated with his system.
First year defensive coordinator, he does everything hard, physical. He's a great coach, and he just knows how to play football.
Just knows it. And is that something you can sense from like day one with him?
Yes,
from
sir.
his experience playing?
Ever since I came to MVP.
Yeah, I love that. All right, Jamar Brown, linebacker, sophomore. Jamar, how are you, man?
I'm doing great, sir.
I like your white shirt as well. I don't want to leave you out. I told Savion I like this orange. I mean, it's a little bit of Clemson orange. Are we Clemson guys? What's our fandom? I mean, y'all have orange in your logo. You have to be Clemson fans, right? No? No? Is that not how that works? Where's your fandom like? Who are you a fan of?
Georgia.
Georgia.
I'm a Bulldog.
Are
all
you
day.
really?
Yes, sir.
What about you?
Florida Gators.
Savion says Florida. Maybe that, you know what? Maybe that is a little more of a Florida orange. Is that right? Florida Gator orange?
Yeah.
Maybe it is. Maybe it's a little bit different shade than Clemson. Jamar Brown, linebacker, sophomore, a little bit younger than your co-part here in Savion. But talk about this defense, what you think. We talked about first-year defensive coordinator Stanley Hunter, but what your expectations are, and kind of just talk about how you've acclimated to the defense side of the football and what you think you guys can do this year.
I feel like as a team, we're fast, we're physical, we're very put together. We've been working on a lot of things to stop a lot of different teams that we play in the future. And I feel like as Coach Hunter being our first defensive coordinator, he's working hard and trying to get us to where we want to be fast.
What's that one thing that you hear from him, and you both can answer this if you want to, but what's that one thing you hear from him on like a daily basis that he just pounds in when you talk about the identity? You said fast a minute ago. What's that one thing?
He always
Next play.
next play or hit somebody in the mouth.
So you said next play, you said hit somebody in the mouth. Which happens more? Which just said more?
I feel like my point of view is hit somebody in the mouth.
What's that intensity mean though? Like hit somebody in the mouth.
Like don't play relentless. Play like somebody's watching. Play like it's your last game because anything can happen.
That intensity, right?
Yes, sir.
That intensity. You both experience things on the defensive side of the football. Talk about, and you both can answer this as well, talk about how you both can help each other and from a linebacker standpoint, and you said you play DB? Is that right?
Yes.
How you guys can help each other just in terms of like acclimating to the defense, but also what you see as you try to get better, and Friday nights are, starting here in just a few days now.
On and off the field, we can communicate about what we see on the offensive side and try to help each other to get better.
Communication, something. You go ahead and answer that. I want to touch on communication, though.
I feel like as a team, and if like a game is like on or like going on, is offense or defense, we can communicate saying like pulls, passes, like just like to help the team that's on the field know what's going on.
And it's funny, you both brought up the word communication. I think Coach Hunter will probably speak to this as well, but from a defensive side of things, that communication is so important. You said key, right? You're dead on the money. I mean, Well, at the high school level, though, like you hear pro coaches talk about it, college coaches at the high school level, what does that look like in terms of being on the field? How do you communicate better?
I feel like everybody has to be like know each other, like a brotherhood. So like it clicks. Like it's not like you're talking to yourself. Like it's just like you got this, you got that. Let's go.
Let's do it. I love it. Get me fired up. Guys, appreciate you. Hey, will y'all do me a favor? Y'all introduce the other two players and give them your best introduction you can.
Coming up, best tight end in the state, Chase Richards.
QB1, Jacoby.
I like it. I like it. It's pretty good. Pretty good introduction, guys. Thank y'all. As we're going to be transitioning now to two new guests. Savion Booker, Jamar Brown joined us. Receiver, DB, linebacker. The one's a senior, one's a sophomore. Fantastic stuff from them as they gave pretty good transition. Don't you think, Alex? Pretty good transitions there?
Yeah, I think we got the
broadcasters in the making, I think. So.
Yep.
Guys, what's up, man?
Best tight end in
How are
best
you?
tight end
Good.
in the
How are
state.
y'all?
Good.
QB1 here.
I like it. If y'all will introduce yourself to the audience, we'll start with you.
I'm Chase Richards. 2028 junior receiver, tight end.
Receiver, tight end. They said best in the state. It's pretty high words, right?
Yes, sir.
Pretty high words. And then
I'm Jacoby Kelly, class of 2027. I'm the starting quarterback.
senior, right?
Yes, sir.
Going into your senior year. That's awesome. So you were
I'm a junior.
junior.
Yes,
So
sir.
you still got two more. And Chase has two more. Jacoby, you've got – this is it. This is your senior season. So let's start with you, senior season. What's that kind of mean to you? And why is this one different, I guess?
It means a lot. I mean, I don't have any other chances. This is it. So it's either win or go home.
And pretty good transition, guys. I think we have some broadcasters in the making, maybe. They did a great job this morning. No kidding. I think, when you hear guys, Coach Ramsey talk, that, we talk to a lot of high school students, very polished, and that's something that I'm sure you've talked to your guys about before when it comes to media and stuff, right? Is that becoming more common?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's just kind of the era that we're in, whether it's social media. We're fortunate. Our classes are centered around that sports and entertainment market.
Yeah.
So they get exposed probably a little bit more on that edge. There's camera in your face.
Yeah.
Somebody coming by. We have classes in the building that are making quick reels and putting a phone in front of your face and understanding how to talk. I think is really important. You're going to look one day down the line. It doesn't matter what profession you get into, the relationships that you have with people and how you speak to people, those things matter. So we try to do a good job of developing them in that area, and hopefully it translates when it comes time.
Coach Stanley Hunter, I want to go to you next. Defensive coordinator, first year. Congratulations, first of all. Excited to have you on the show. I asked Savion and Jamar what the most common said phrase was at practice. What do you think they said? Did you hear them?
I did not hear him, but it's either going to be between attack today or next play.
Next play was one of them. Also, what was the other one?
Hit him in the mouth.
Hit him in the mouth.
There
Hit
you
him in
go.
the mouth was a good one as well. Talk about just getting acclimated your first year. Obviously familiar with the program, and it maybe doesn't feel like your first year, even though it is as DC, right? Talk about the transition and how the acclimations, the process is going.
Man, the transition's been awesome. I mean, Coach Ramsey laid it out, for us as a staff. He makes it easy for us. Just show up ready to work. Our phrase attack today is not just for the players, it's for the coaches as well. He's been a great role model to us. Even though he's younger than me, that's crazy, right? But it's been a great transition. The kids have been responding. The support has been responding. Everybody's been supportive. Athletic director, the athletic staff, the teachers, parents. It's been a great transition for me.
Talking to Stanley Hunter, Gray Ramsey. Stanley, the new defensive coordinator. Coach Ramsey, the head coach at Mountain View. Stanley, real quick, touch on Savion and Jamar. Both play defense for you. What kind of expectations and what you think they can do this season for your defense?
Man, I think they can play lights out. Jamar is a very athletic, strong, smart kid. He's young. He's got 3 more years with us, so I'm super excited about that. And Savion is just an athlete.
Yeah.
He's very cerebral himself, and he just likes to compete, and that's what we love to see. We just love to see guys competing.
When it goes, Coach, or when it comes to guys going both ways, is that something that is kind of set in stone on a yearly basis, or does that change year to year based on personnel?
Well, I think you always have to look at your personnel that you have on your team, and you want to put yourself in a position to be successful. For us, I don't think we're ever going to be based on our enrollment size and the size of the school. We're always going to rely on two-way players, and I think it's important to not take that away from high school football. I know that there can be a lot of specialization on certain ends, so it's a balance between us. There's going to be kids that have their priority positions, and obviously if they're a priority receiver, you need them to be able to play receiver well. But also when you get into those crunch time moments in the game, if they're one of your best 11 on the defensive side of the ball, you got to do a good job of making sure you're prepared, organized, be able to get those guys work throughout the day and throughout the week, so that when it comes Friday, if it's time to go and the game's on the line, we want our best 11 on the field. And if that's a bunch of crossover guys, then I think we're prepared. That goes into how we practice and how we get those guys trained. So a lot of our guys are going to play moments, on both sides of the football as we get into the region time and and sometimes it's just situational. It could be third downs, it could be red zone, it could be personnel packages for the other team. One of the key things that we have to look for, we see a lot of different offenses in this kind of classification. You're going to go to a couple of teams that you're here, and then you're back into which is not a knock on them at all. It's really hard to defend. And the teams that we play, they do a great job. We jump into a region with Clinton. Yeah. You get Chesney, and you have St. Joe's on a non-region schedule. You almost feel like you go back in time, and that's not a knock on them because they do it really well. That's just not what you see a whole lot. So some of that's based on personnel. We've got to be able to get bigger bodies in or different groups. So that definitely goes into a planning aspect for what we've got to do every week.
You can both speak on this, but when it comes to players playing both ways in today's age compared to when you guys played, is it harder to get that buy-in now?
I don't think it's harder. I think it just depends on your kids.
Okay.
We are blessed at MVP. We have kids that want to do it.
Yeah.
Like, we have running backs begging to play linebacker.
Sure.
We've got DBs begging to play receiver. Like, Coach, I can help.
Yeah.
And that's what you love to see as a coach. Like I said, you can't coach effort. So that's half the battle. You still got to coach them up, right?
Sure.
But we're blessed here in this situation. Like I said, with our enrollment size, we got a lot of kids that want to do it, you know, and we just coach them up and put them in position.
Yeah, I agree. I think that for our kids, it starts with the mentality of it. You know, you challenge them. If you say you're a guy and you're a stud, then, man, if it's fourth quarter, I don't care what side of the ball is, you want to be on the field going and making a play. So, and it's enabling them to do it. I think sometimes if you don't give them the opportunities throughout the spring, throughout the summer to train them and crossover train them to be on the other side of the ball, a lot of it's confidence. So all of a sudden, if you ask a guy who's competitive and he wants to win and you haven't trained him, you put him in a position where he's going to fail, and that's kind of on the adults, then you lose him. He's like, I don't want to do it. I'm not doing well. But if you go in on the front end and you give him the opportunity to be able to feel comfortable and confident, I think you see it a little bit more.
So you guys in your profession and my profession in radio, one similarity is we're both told we're wrong a lot, right?
Exactly.
We're both told we're wrong. So I'm going to give you the opportunity to tell me I'm wrong. And I told Alex this earlier in the show. I just think the more high school football I watch, and I know I'm wrong according to you guys, but the more high school football I watch, the older I get, I absolutely think 7-on-7s are the most pointless thing in the world. I do. And I know they're not pointless, but I'm going to give you both the opportunity from an offensive and defensive standpoint. I know that there are quarterback timing things and you're competing, like all the competition stuff you love, but the transitioning, what that does to transitioning to Friday nights is, I guess, my biggest hurdle in terms of it not being the same. How wrong am I on that?
From my perspective, it may be a little bit surprising. You know, I get a label as a guy that knows what he's doing with quarterbacks, and I hear all kind of things. So you would think that I would love 7-on-7. I tell our team it's fake football.
Okay, so we're on.
No, we're on the same page.
Okay.
I do enjoy, and we're probably a little bit different the past 2 years, and then going into year 3, we'll do a couple of 7-on-7s, but we're not traveling across the Southeast to go to 7-on-7 tournaments. I do think that the state, at least in the upstate, we're kind of turning the corner a little bit of what we do in the summer. You're starting to see more 11-on-11 practices with other teams. Now that you've got to be careful. You've got to have a team that you can trust.
Yeah,
you got to have
pads, right?
Yeah, no pads. So you've got to be really controlled, but you can get some work. Now we go 11-on-11 with our guys, but it's easy to control.
Yeah.
But you're starting to see kind of that shift as you go. I do enjoy the competition from a certain aspect. You want to know who your guys are, and some of them turn it on as you go, but there's really not a whole lot that translates as far as what we couldn't do ourselves in that practice to when you get on a 7-on-7. So I'm hoping that maybe, you know, our state, our coaches association, that we continue to try to encourage our high school league to be open. You know, you're looking at some other surrounding states. They get a couple of pad days. You don't front load them in spring and in May. Maybe we get a week or two in the summer so that we can, you know, do some different things besides going to. So we'll always do a handful, but I think it puts our quarterbacks in bad habits. I think it puts our skill guys in bad habits. And then as soon as we get into real football, you start talking about this isn't 7-on-7 anymore. And I don't think that that's a coincidence. If every coach starts screaming in August, this isn't 7-on-7 anymore, then that probably tells you that we need to be doing something.
All right, so we're on the same page
sir.
from a defensive standpoint.
Man, I totally agree.
Okay.
I even more agree.
Okay.
It's not that I don't like it, because anytime we can compete, I'm a competitor. I don't care if we in a sack racing contest. It doesn't matter. I'm going to compete.
Yep.
But it does teach us so many bad habits. You know, not only as a DC, I'm a linebacker. I'm a true linebacker. So not taking read steps because you don't have to run read. That's horrible to our defense, because our linebackers are the center of our defense. So if we're not reading guards, we're not playing good football. I can guarantee you that. So 7-on-7, it definitely gets guys in bad habits. Now DB's route recognition, timing, communicating on your coverages. That helps, but you can do that in 11-on-11 as well. So I don't think it's all bad, but I definitely don't think it translates at all.
Yeah.
You know, at all.
Not reading many guards in a 7-on-7, for sure. Last question for you both. What excites you about what this group can bring to the 2026 season?
I'm super excited, man. Going into year 3, we've got guys that's been with us going on 3 years. So for us, it's a building block to where we're trying to go. I think we have an opportunity to do some really good things. We talk about our kids about setting goals and setting high expectations, and we think we have a chance to make a run this year. So I think I'm excited about what we're able to do. We just got to go out and prove it.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun year. I think every coach wants to be sitting here at the beginning of the year. Still a lot of unknowns, a lot of football to play. You know, you break up the season into 3 parts: your non-region, your region, and playoffs. we have a lot of things that we need to improve upon between now and when it starts counting for real. When October rolls around in region in November, but we have a chance. And for a lot of coaches, I understand that maybe they don't feel that way, but we do. So I'm excited, to kind of reiterate what Stanley said. A lot of guys that are with us, and they're starting to feel like your guys. It's a cliche term, but culture is a real thing.
For sure.
And so how we do things, how they prepare, how they go about their day, those are the things that start showing up on a Friday that get you over the hump. We in 2 years have been very fortunate to be successful, but we haven't quite been able to get to that last hurdle. So we continue to make changes. As a coach, I continue to make changes. We're going into this new realignment, something that I believe in. Obviously, being at Chapman with Mark and then going to Spartanburg is a tough schedule. And when we jumped in our first years, we were just hoping we could land anywhere and everywhere. We were late to the party. And then this year, I really, focused that we want to be calloused when it comes to region time. We've been, which is great. It's great for high school football, but our region from top to bottom is going to be one of the best in the entire state, regardless of classification from a competition standpoint. So, we've got out-of-game contests. We've got guys and teams that have won, scrimmage last night, a former state, last year's state champion in North Carolina, and then we get ambassador next week, and then we go to Gray. Our kids are going to be prepared, and I think that's going to help us when we get to the end this time. I don't want to wait to get punched in the mouth.
Sure.
And some of those things, our kids need to be able to respond to those things earlier. So we're really excited. We have the opportunity to be as good as we could ever be. And so we've got great kids, great coaches, and we're really excited about the year and the opportunity that's ahead.
Best of luck to both of you. Appreciate your time. And, Coach, congratulations on your new role.
Thank you.
And we're excited to talk to you guys again real soon.
Yes, sir. Thank y'all what y'all do for high school football, man.
Awesome.
We can't
Absolutely.
thank you enough.
Final segment of hour number 1 next right here on the Fan Upstate.
Mike
by Founders
is
Federal
hot.
Credit Union and your local Ingles Market.
This is the Fan Upstate. 97.7 FM Greenville. 97.1 FM Spartanburg.
Streaming everywhere on the Odyssey app.
Final segment of our number one on the debut episode of the Saturday Morning Scramble for 2026, season number 8 for the Saturday Scramble. Talking high school football live at Ingles Markets. Alex Guest to my right. I'm Cole Bryson. We're at 8650 Asheville Highway in Spartanburg, right across the street from Mountain View Prep. A couple of texts on the Joy Law Firm text line. Cornchip says, excited for some high school football. Got my passes for Easley. Excited for the year. Texter gets in from the 978 and says, Cole was at the McDonald's Jamboree in Inman last night. Heard Landrum look good, or Landrum look young and inexperienced. Westside looked good when they had their starters in. Texter also says Chapman had several wide receiver drop passes, but number 2, running back Tegan Cantrell ran the ball really good. The most impressive player to me was the Westside quarterback, number 4. I believe last name is Woods. He was impressive. Love the show every Saturday. Texter, appreciate you as well and all those listening on this Saturday morning. Those who have listened for years now, and I mean 8 years, appreciate you being a part of the show. Love hearing from you. You can comment by texting in, calling in 844-326-3663. You can also watch the show live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. You can see Alex Guest. I don't know how good of a wake up that is, waking up on a Saturday morning, Alex.
Yeah, you don't
want
to
stuck with you and I on the screen, right? But it is an exciting time. High school football season is back, and we're excited about it as well. You know, we just talked to Mountain View Prep, Alex. That region, we touched on it a few minutes ago. That one's going to be – there are a lot of fun reclassification regions to watch, but I just am so intrigued with that region, and you throw a curveball in the middle of the summer, and when you look at that region now, Clinton's thinking, Woodruff just lost their running back.
Yep.
Mountain View Prep lost one of their quarterbacks.
Yep.
And it just, that region was already interesting. But the fact that 2 of the best teams in that region lost key players in the offseason, I just think you can't not talk about it. And how do those teams move on without those 2 players being important pieces of those teams? I think that's a fascinating storyline that just happened a month and a half or so ago.
Yeah, not long ago at all. And so now you're talking about those 2 teams in MVP and Woodruff that are, kind of reassessing and having to adjust to the new reality that they have of a loss of a quarterback, a loss of a running back, and Clinton sitting there, they're like, again, like you said,
we'll take it,
okay,
right?
Yeah, we'll take it. We might be the front runner in this region now. Now, granted, I still think that MVP and Woodruff are going to have great years, and I think that's going to be a really fun region to pay attention to once October hits and we get into region play. But, again, I think that realistically, Cole, I think it's going to come down to that October 16th game between Clinton and MVP to see who your region champion is, and that's no disrespect to Woodruff, but I think that those 2 teams are going to be the ones that are really battling it out this
What was
year.
that non-region we talked about? Coach Ramsey mentioned the non-region for Mountain View Prep. We know the region, but what's the non-region?
Yeah, they open with Ambassador Christian out of North Carolina next week, which don't really know a whole lot about them. They go to Charlotte Country Day, traditionally a pretty good, kind of private school out of North Carolina. They've got a neutral site game against May River out of the lower state. May River has had some pretty impressive seasons here the last couple of years. Coach Ramsey mentioned they go to Gray Collegiate. So, again, we know what Gray Collegiate can do. And their last non-region game before a bye week getting into region play is a home game against St. Joe's. And so we know what Eric Nash and his team is able to do at St. Joe's. Traditionally going to be a competitive game there, too.
Exciting. Very, very exciting, to say the least. We're going to continue the conversation. Hour number 2 of the show coming your way. So much more to get into. We're talking Bowling Springs Bulldogs here in a little bit. We'll go back to those reclassifications, storylines from that, and get you set for week 1. All that and more. Hour number 2 next right here on the Fan Upstate. on this Saturday morning. So good to be with you. So good to be back. Year number 8 of the Saturday Scramble. And we are excited to talk Bowling Springs football now. We were joined by Mountain View Prep earlier in the show. Appreciate Savion Booker, Jamar Brown, Chase Richards, Jacoby Kelly, Coach Gray Ramsey, and Coach Stanley Hunter for joining us in that very last hour. Anything you missed, you can go back and find on the free Odyssey app. We're live this morning at Ingalls Markets, 8650 Asheville Highway in Spartanburg. Would love to see you here talking a little high school football. Alex, we're joined now by Jamarcus Means and Tyvion Hall of Boiling Springs. We've got Matt Real, head football coach, joining us here in just a few minutes as well. And both safeties, both seniors. I like that. It's easy for me to remember. We'll start with Jamarcus. Safety position, how long have you been playing safety? And now going into your senior year, what excites you about this team?
So I've been playing safety for about 3 years now. I play safety, corner. I'm just a fill-in. Wherever they need me to play, I'm going to go play, make some plays. And I'm most excited about just playing fast and physical with my team. As being a senior, me, Tavion, we just want to lead the back end, just be fast, physical, fly around.
So 3 years or so, you've been playing safety, Jamarcus. Jamarcus Means Bowling Springs safety. He's a senior. Tyvion, a senior safety as well. What, Jamarcus, do you feel like, what areas of your game do you feel like you've improved on from an individual standpoint in those 3 years?
Like I said, just playing fast and physical. I feel like I was a little timid last year, didn't really make the plays that I should have been making, but now it's my senior year. I got to make the plays, so it's just make the plays or nothing else.
You say being timid. Explain that for those listening. Just a little hesitation?
A little
sometimes?
hesitation, maybe not feeling it in the playbook, being the leader the defense needed.
Sure.
Now I feel like I just have to step it up and play fast, play physical, play senseless.
Tyvion Hall, also a senior safety. Tyvion, same question to you. How long have you been playing safety?
For 4 years now.
Okay. Familiar position then for you.
Yes.
I want to ask you the same question I asked Jamarcus. What do you feel like on an individual standpoint you've gotten better at in those 4 years? Where do you feel like your game's grown?
I would say going to get the ball out the air.
Explain that.
Like when the ball is in the air, I go get it every time.
Yeah.
Money on me.
What would you say, and, I asked the guys from Mountain View Prep this question as well in the last segment, last hour. What would you say, y'all's, both being on the defense side of the football, what's the identity of this defense? Talk about your defensive coordinator. Tyvion, you can start, and Jamarcus, you can answer this as well. But what the phrase is that you hear the most, what the theme is, what the identity of this defense will be in 2026?
Very rude.
Okay. Explain that.
Just playing fast, physical.
Okay.
Not thinking, just making plays.
Sure.
All over the field.
Jamarcus, what would you say to that?
He said it. Coach he emphasizes being fast, being physical, playing with physicality. That's our defense. We just want to be physical. We want to make you feel it for 4 quarters all game.
Yeah, and guys, the season now, week 1, just a few days away. At what point, and you both can answer this one as well, at what point in the spring, summer, or whether that's now, do you kind of start gelling? Do you feel like you're starting to come together as a defense? Is that something that's done in the summertime, or is that something that you feel like until you put those pads on, it really can't happen?
I feel like it's something that you build over the summer. You build while getting reps, 7-on-7, 1-on-1s, all that, the defensive line being together. I feel like it just comes together as you keep playing. But we definitely I feel like we're getting it together as the season comes, and week 1 is going to be a movie.
Tyvion, the same thing for you in terms of just being comfortable in the defense. When do you feel like you're most comfortable? What point in the season? You know what I mean? Like, does it usually take a game or two just to – I mean, you understand, obviously, the defense is the scheme and what you guys want, but at what point do you usually feel like, okay, you know what, I've got what I need in terms, from a mental standpoint, knowing the defense, if that makes sense?
Yeah, I would say a game or two.
Yeah. Just getting a game experience under your belt. What is it about the game experience for you both that you can't replicate in practice? I mean, I know practice it's essential, but you get tired of playing against your guys, I'm sure. What is it when you guys, like you were playing in a scrimmage last night, right? What's different about that for those listening that may not understand? You're still playing against the team, but it's a different team. Why does that help you as a player, if that makes sense?
Different color jersey.
Yeah.
Different color jersey to me.
It's just a mental thing? Is that it?
Yeah, mental thing.
I feel like
when you when you have the right preparation throughout the week, it's just you got to go out there and execute. You do get to play against somebody else, get to hit somebody else, not your own teammate, so it just feels amazing.
Yeah. Jamarcus, Tyvion, good luck this season, guys. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
And we'll talk to you real soon. Now we're going to transition over to your head football. Hey, give us one thing real quick. I'll say it quietly so he won't hear us. One funny thing about Coach Matt Reel. What's the funniest thing about him?
I would say we got into like a little fight at Malden last year in the playoffs. He was in like the middle of it. So
You hear how he's whispering, Coach, right? What would you say, Jamarcus?
I would just say he makes jokes that aren't funny. We just gotta laugh at it.
Is it dad jokes?
Yeah.
Dad jokes?
Dad jokes.
Dad jokes?
I don't really hear the jokes like that. Yeah.
I love it. Guys, appreciate you. Good luck, and we'll get Coach Reel on. That is Jamarcus Means and Tyvion Hall of Boiling Springs, both safeties, both seniors. And we'll get Matt Reel on now, the head football coach at Boiling Springs High School. As they were, Coach, they were giving you a hard time on your dad jokes. I don't know. I don't know if that's something that we can polish up. I am the worst at jokes, but we'll see. We'll see how your dad jokes game continues. If it's like your football game, we'll expect it to get better as the season goes on, right?
Yeah, you got to know your strengths and weaknesses, And
you got one just like waiting to just. What's your best dad joke?
No,
right now?
they give me dad jokes. That's the thing. Like I tell them all the time. I have to take care of them constantly.
Because my wife hates them, so I'll go like
the dad jokes.
Yeah, she hates them,
Yeah.
so I'll take it home and give it to her. Like,
I'm not a big joke guy. They give it to me. They get me.
I love it.
More so than anything, but that's just how it goes sometimes.
We're talking to Matt Reel, head football coach at Boiling Springs. Coach, similar question that I asked of Jamarcus and Tyvion. I mean, you're finally getting to play other teams the past week or so. Obviously, you have to deal with the weather and stuff in the upstate, but what have you learned about your team now that you've played against competition that maybe you didn't know 2 weeks ago?
I think the biggest thing for me is I get tired of them getting tired of each other.
Yeah.
Like, and I say that, we're year-round, and just like everybody else. There's not – like we're not doing anything anybody else is doing. But when you're in that year-round class, once the season's over with and it gets to December to May, it's just you. You can't compete against anybody else. And you're wanting them to compete against each other. So it's just like with your siblings.
Yeah.
Like you're going to fight, you're going to get after each other, and then you got to turn around and it's
Sure.
the same guys the next day. So it just helps being able to be competitive but have somebody else to play against. Yeah. The summer helps, obviously, with our 7-on-7s and our lineman competitions and things like that they're doing. But really now, being able to get those 3 scrimmages in basically 10 days, 12 days, and then going into, the regular season, I think it just kind of lets the guys, I won't say relax, but have something to look forward to every week. They know every Thursday
Sure.
and Friday we got somebody else we can compete against.
What about situational wise? Like, you've been a head coach for a while now. Do you find it tough to replicate the situations? You want your guys to be in tough situations so they can learn. Is it hard to replicate that when you are just playing against yourself for the majority of the year, it feels like?
Well, I think it's how you approach it. I mean, I think it's how your coaches approach it. We have 2 just phenomenal coordinators who really, I've seen over the last 2 weeks, amp that up a lot.
Yeah.
Hey, we've got to create these situations now so that it's not a surprise when it happens. And it may not happen until week 9. I remember when I was at North Myrtle, we put a play in the preseason. We didn't use it the whole year, not one time. Didn't run it one time. It was 3rd and 8 against Myrtle Beach, and we're to go to the state championship. Called the play, executed, scored a touchdown, and we literally have practiced that play the whole year, and we called it one time the whole year. And that's kind of the things we talk about. We were talking about last night. Me and Coach Anderson, our defensive coordinator, Mario Cristobal actually practiced. I believe it was last year, delays. So they would come out to practice for 30 minutes, and they would go in for 45 minutes. Lightning delay, weather delay, so they're actually doing that in the course of practice to get their kids used to.
Yeah.
And like this past week, we scrimmaged Gray last week. We're out there for 20 minutes, lightning delay, came back out, lightning delay, and I saw a difference in the sessions. I was talking to Coach Morris at Norman, same thing. They were at Daniel, had lightning delays, and didn't feel like his kids played like he knew they could play. So that, and then just the game within itself, how do you handle being backed up on your 2? Like the play call, the execution, then how do you handle high red zone? How do you handle low red zone? You know, so there's just so many things. And, like, for us as coaches, if we haven't put our kids in those situations, you can't expect them to handle them great every time that you do it. You know, so I think that's a big part of, you know, you do the big part the whole year, and then I think once you start getting close to, you know, July and August, you really start honing in on, hey, these are specific situations we better be really good in, you know, if we're going to be successful.
Talking to Matt Reel, head football coach at Boiling Springs. Talk about last night. You played against J.O. Man, the preseason, I guess, now in the rearview mirror. Where do you feel like this team, the strengths are, but also some areas you guys have to improve on before the season? Just 6 short days?
Yeah, well, I mean, last night I thought defensively we played really, really well. We gave up a 40-yard field goal, and we went for it, you know, in a higher area than I probably would have if it was a regular season game. But, again, wanted to put some pressure on our guys, wanted to see if we could execute in a situation where it matters, but it didn't matter as far as overall record. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I thought defensively we played really, really well. I thought we were super physical. I thought we tackled really well last night. Very few penalties on the defensive side. Scored defensively last night. Tavion found the end zone again. Offensively, I thought we moved the ball really well. I thought we had some really good drives, went out, you know, and moved the ball really, really well. Just kind of bogged down with some penalties. We had one touchdown call back on an illegal formation. You know, and then just had the ball at the end of the game inside the 5, and you know, the clock ran out. So we typically could have put some more points on the board, but we just had some penalties in some bad areas that kind of cost us. We had 3 what we consider big plays, 15 yards or more, and we had a penalty right after that. So you have a big momentum, and then, you know, it's 1st and 20. And, you know, that's just the stuff. When we play, the teams that we play, you can't do those things. So just cleaning those things up, which typical, you know, first jamboree, you know, really like an official. We played everything live last night, so it was like the first true game like we've been in. The scrimmages were game like, but not where we're doing everything full tilt.
Yeah. In just a few short days, Coach, you have Southside Christian to open the season. I know you probably, maybe you have started. What do you know? Like, this is from a media standpoint and just a general public, they see Bowling Springs Southside Christian. Not a lot of history there. A relatively new matchup. How'd that come to be, and then what you think that can be on Friday night for your guys?
Well, trying to find somebody that fit into our open weeks once everything, because, you know, it all came out, and then it all changed, then it all changed, then it all changed.
Yeah.
So what we thought was going to be our 10 games, I think for everybody, changed pretty quickly once everything started changing as far as the realignment. And he's posting, I'm posting, and I finally just reached out to him, and he was like, well, you know, we'll look at it, and let's say, hey, a week from now, if neither one of us has got a game, then let's lock it in. You know, so that's what happened. And they've only had one scrimmage. Their first scrimmage was last night. So we've had film from last year. But, you know, teams are a lot different, you know, from year to year. So we got that last night. We've already been breaking it down. You know, they're a physical football team. They're good-looking kids, man. Strong. Don't have the numbers as a lot of the teams we play, but, you know, I tell people all the time, you don't need to have 60. If you've got 22 that will get it done, then you can be a really good football team. So they're coached really well. You know, they have a lot of pride in their program, a lot of tradition in their program. So it's going to be a really good game for us as far as having to execute at a high level and going on the road the first week to win a football game.
On the road, talk about not an uncomfortable situation, but you talk about that region, the teams you're going to have to play going on the road and finding ways to win are going to be a big part of it. Coach, best of luck this season. Appreciate you as always, and we'll talk to you again real soon.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it. Go Dogs.
Coach Matt Reel, head football coach of the Bowling Springs Bulldogs, right here on the Fan Upstate. We'll take a break, come back, continue the conversation. Hour number 2 of the show. It's next right here.
States. 97.7 FM Greenville. 97.1 FM Spartanburg.
Streaming everywhere on the Odyssey app.
We're continuing the conversation here in hour number 2 of the show. Saturday morning scramble, year number 8, season 8, if you will, and show number 1, Alex Guest. We are back. Still excited to be back talking high school football, and we've had a big show already. We're live this morning in Ingles Market. It's 8650 Asheville Highway here in Spartanburg. I want to say thanks to Mountain View Prep joining us early in the show, and also Alex to Boiling Springs. We talked a lot about Mountain View Prep in the first hour. From a Boiling Springs perspective, Coach Matt Rill mentioned it there. Alex, when you look at their region, oh boy, what a gauntlet that region is.
Yeah.
And again, going back to what we were talking about in the first hour, this was the big storyline on the message boards and the Facebook pages all off season was the new regions, the realignment. We'll get to the 3A and the 4A in a minute, but since we're on the 5A note with Boiling Springs, a weird-ish change to the region where you lose a team in Burns, you add Northwestern, and now that region, Alex, Region 2, 5A, looks a little bit different. And guess what? Still pretty dang tough, right?
Yeah, I mean, it used to be the black and blue region, and now it's going to be the black and blue, and I guess you got Northwestern.
A little purple in there.
And Rock Hill, Fort Mill in there. So you got a little purple, a little
You just don't have
maroon,
Gaffney. You don't have Burns, right? You still have Spartanburg. So
Yep.
it's Region 2, 5A, Northwestern, Rock Hill, Boiling Springs, Dorman, Spartanburg, and Fort Mill. And I think, like, instant reaction, all of our instant reactions back when this came out was, oh my gosh, Dorman played for an upper state championship last year, Alex.
Yep.
Northwestern played in the state champion. They've won back-to-back now,
Yep.
right? Spartanburg's very good.
Mhm.
Boiling Springs is good.
Mhm.
And it's just when you look at this region, man, I don't know how it's going to shake out, but you talk about having to get through the gauntlet, stay healthy. What sticks out to you in terms of who you feel like has the advantage? Obviously, Northwestern's coming into it as the new guy, you know, up from the Rock Hill area, but they've won back-to-back state championships, so I don't know that really I don't know that the pressure's on them, even though it's a tough region to walk into, right?
Yeah, it's definitely a tough region, Cole, but, you know, I think the pressure is on the team that we just had here in Boiling Springs to prove themselves even further in that region and to say, you know, we can come in here and we can compete with the best of them. And, you know, I mean, obviously it's going to be tough for them once they get into region play. They have back-to-back weeks to open region play going to District 3 Stadium in Rock Hill. They go to Northwestern, they go to Rock Hill back-to-back weeks. They get Dorman at home and they're at Spartanburg, and then they get Fort Mill at home. So, you know, I think that's regardless of the way you look at it, that's a tough region schedule. But those road games for Boiling Springs, especially to start out going to Northwestern and Rock Hill back-to-back weeks, that's
tough.
That's a tough drive regardless of where you're coming from. But, yeah, I mean, I think Northwestern and Dorman, you know, we both know we all know what both of those teams are able to do and what they're capable of. And that's going to be an amazing matchup on October 9th, and that is at Dorman. So that's going to be a fun.
I think it'll be any anticipation around that one.
Yeah, no, probably not at all.
That might be
both teams will probably be winless.
That might be a highly, highly anticipated game, right? You know, Boiling Springs, looking at their schedule, what's interesting is you're right, and we've said it a million times in this offseason, the region's a gauntlet, but I do think from a confidence standpoint, they have a better opportunity this year compared to past years to get some wins and confidence in that non-region. You're at Southside Christian. You host Riverside. You go to Catawba Ridge, a good team. You get Clover, a first-year head coach, Bennett Swaggart. Then it starts with Hillcrest, and Hillcrest is really, really good. We saw Hillcrest last night. Hillcrest looked pretty good against Independence and looked pretty good a couple of days ago against Gaffney as well. So, I'm not saying their non-region is easier, but I think when you look at the early part of their schedule, Alex, they're going to have some chances. By the way, that Clover game on a Thursday night, that Boiling Springs Clover game on a Thursday night over – is that at Clover or is that at Boiling Springs?
I think it's at Boiling Springs.
Well, maybe I'm wrong then. I thought that game was at Clover because Clover is now sharing a stadium.
Yes.
Is that right? Clover, I was told, is now sharing a stadium with Lake Wiley. And I've been told that stadium is now like the town stadium. Do a check on that online. I don't know why my gut's telling me, but I feel like Clover's now sharing a stadium with Lake Wiley. Unless I just all of a sudden woke up and made that up. I thought Bennett Swigert told me that was the case, and then I thought somebody told me that Bowling Springs was playing at Clover on a Thursday. We'll fact check that, Alex, in terms of the schedule. I thought that game was at Clover. Something may have changed. I'm not telling you. Your spreadsheets are wrong.
Well,
but
they may very well be.
Lake Wiley
I put these spreadsheets together in February. So
Lake Wiley opening up on a Thursday, or opening up not on a Thursday, but a brand new program, right?
Yeah.
New Lake Wiley High School. And see if you can find like Clover's official football schedule and see if it's listed as a home or away game there, because I don't know why my gut tells me. But, again, first-year head coach at Clover, Lake Wiley, interesting story up in that area as well, where they're in their first year as a program. But going back to Bowling Springs for a minute, man, you're going to find out what you have in a couple of those non-region games. Clover and Catawba Ridge, they're all going to be tough. I saw Riverside last night as well. I think they're a young team, Riverside is. And I think Bowling Springs will have a chance to get some wins early in the season. But you do get a bye, I guess. The good thing is you do get a bye before Northwestern, if that helps at all. And
does it?
Let's see. We are getting some information in here. This is what does that say? October. Nation/Clover. That's weird, isn't it? That's weird. What did you find a Clover football schedule, Alex?
I'm efforting it.
Is it hard to find a Clover Blue Eagles football schedule? I mean,
probably.
Do we need to get in contact with Bennett Swigert and get him live on the air?
I mean,
I feel like, I think that game.
Okay.
What's it listed on there, Max Preps?
It's listed as a home game for Clover.
On what's the date on that?
On a Thursday.
Okay, so it is right. So Clover. And just so we know, because that'll be here before you know it, Bowling Springs at Clover is on a Thursday night. That's the 10th of September, because Clover and Lake Wiley. I thought I had that right, but you know how sometimes I can just make stuff up, Alex. I can do that from time to time.
Well, it's like I said. This was I put this together in February, so things have changed.
You did a good job.
Yeah.
Things have changed. Well, you're right. The school's popped up, and
Yeah.
a new stadium is Lake Wiley and Clover will be sharing a stadium. But that's a tough region. We know that it's going to be a lot of fun to follow that region as the season goes on. Let's keep it in 5A. Alex, let's keep it in 5A and go to Region 1 5A. You brought this one up earlier in the show, and I don't want to say weird again, but an interesting region in Region 1 5A with Hillcrest, Malden, Woodmont, JL-Man, Eastside, and Burns. And you and I both, Alex, seeing Burns in a region with Greenville County schools, I mean, when's the last time that ever made sense? And I don't know. I don't know all the reasons behind it. We've heard, well, it's because of where they're located and things like that. But when you saw that for the very first time, I'm sure you, like everybody else, thought, that one's interesting, right?
Yeah, I think my immediate thought was Burns will never lose a region game again as long as this is a thing. But, no, I mean, that was,
Don't forget about Hillcrest.
Tongue-in-cheek, But, no, it just doesn't make sense. From me growing up in Gaffney, from the Gaffney standpoint of every other realignment, you're sending Gaffney to, like, the York region schools or the Spartanburg region schools. Like, that makes sense, because Gaffney's just kind of out there on an island. Burns, though, I mean, as close as Burns is to Dorman, it just doesn't make sense to me to have that Burns-Dorman game as a non-region game. I mean, you're playing that, like, week 2 of the season. August 28th has to be the earliest that game's ever been played, right?
It's probably one of the earliest, I would imagine. But, even Spartanburg-Gaffney for Burns. Think about that just a few weeks later. Burns and Spartanburg, non-region. Burns-Gaffney, non-region. Not saying it doesn't matter, because you want to schedule tough, you want to win tough games. And I know every coach here hates hearing me or anybody say, well, these games don't matter, because they do matter. They matter tremendously. But Burns playing Dorman, Spartanburg, and Gaffney, and they're all being non-region games. Yeah. You're right. It's just weird. I think Burns' schedule, you talked about the Greenville County teams. I think the interesting thing about Burns' schedule is kind of flipped from years past, where usually you have some teams manageable teams in the front part, Alex, then you get to the gauntlet of region.
Yep.
I think it's kind of flipped.
Yeah,
the
absolutely.
gauntlets, I mean, Independence, Norman, back-to-back. Then you get a bye in Greer. But then listen to this 3-game stretch. Spartanburg, Gaffney, Hillcrest, back-to-back. I just is
And
good
2
as,
of those 3 are road games.
on the road.
Yeah.
Hillcrest is really good. And for anybody, and I'm not saying you, anybody that says, oh, Hillcrest is, I mean, this is Burns' region, you hadn't seen Hillcrest.
Yeah.
Bennett Swigert left that program in really, really, really good shape. Amos Lamb's going to do a good job. They've got dudes. Every time I've seen them this year in preseason, whether in person like last night or on film, they can compete with anybody. I do not think Hillcrest, I know it's Greenville County, but Alex, I'm telling you, I don't think Hillcrest steps on the field and thinks, oh, well, we're Greenville County. They truly feel like, when they played Gaffney the other night, they truly feel like we can compete with anybody. They showed that. Amos Lamb's got a lot of talent over there in year one, led by Jackson Free at quarterback. They've got dudes up front. They were the more physical team last night, and their game against Independence, they kind of pushed Independence around from what I saw. And for anybody that thinks that, oh, the region's weak and you know, it's just Burns' region, go watch Hillcrest. And I think Hillcrest is such an interesting story this year. We'll get to them in a second as well, but in that same region with Burns, Hillcrest is in a situation where, hey, they're no stranger to the rain in the sense of they just beat Burns at Burns in a playoff game just a few years ago.
Yeah, absolutely. And there are schools in Greenville County that you look at and you name, and it's like, okay, yeah, they're in Greenville County, but they're not a Greenville County football team, you know. And I would say Hillcrest is one of those. And that's no disrespect to the other schools in Greenville County, but we've talked about it time and time before in years past of, you know, the emphasis on football and winning championships isn't necessarily there in Greenville County as it is compared to Spartanburg County.
Hillcrest
schools.
is one of the few in Greenville
Hillcrest
County that has won a championship.
That's won a championship, and in recent years as well. And you know what? To your point, what Bennett Swigert did at Hillcrest and the position that he left Hillcrest in for Amos Lamb to come in, take over, and just continue to build on that. Speaks volumes there, and I think it's going to – that region championship will be decided October 2nd between Burns and Hillcrest.
I think it will,
sure.
and it's unfortunate, I guess, that that's not the last region game of the year for it to be the championship game for a lot of people who do believe that. I think you're right on that. I don't think you're wrong in saying that, but it's the first one out of the gate. It's the first one out of the gate, and Burns comes off that stretch before playing Spartanburg and Gaffney back-to-back, and like you said, 2 of those 3 are on the road, and you go to Hillcrest, it's like, oh, my gosh, what a gauntlet out of the gate for Burns. On the Hillcrest side of things, talk about a gauntlet. Have you seen Hillcrest's schedule? Anybody out there? They open up at Norman, who I think is probably maybe one of, if not the best team in the state in 2026. And then there's a team in the lower part of the state that's pretty good, Summerville. They go. They host Summerville the very next week.
At least that's a home game for Hillcrest.
You
know,
you don't have to go to
Summerville.
Right? Yeah. So you get Dorman, Summerville back-to-back if you're Hillcrest. You're at Fountain Inn. Good program.
Good program.
Good quarterback and
Scrappy,
Sam Holliday, right? Good job by Brett Nichols, and that program's a really good program. Oh, and then no big deal, you host Westside.
Yeah.
Like Westside's only been in the state championship, a couple of times in the past 2 or 3 years. And then you go to Bowling Springs, and then you're off, and then you get Burns. So things, I mean, in that region, you expect Hillcrest to be a favorite over teams like Man, Eastside, Woodmont, Malden. Malden's a team that I think is getting a lot better and better.
Yeah.
I know their record didn't show it a season ago, Alex. They were 5-6, but everybody I talked to, Malden was a very much improved team. Andre Cook's done a good job there. That Hillcrest, talk about it, the similarity between Hillcrest and Burns, the schedule being front-loaded. They're in the same region. It's not going to take long for Hillcrest to find out what they have. Here's the thing. You might see a team like Hillcrest drop 2, 3, maybe 4 non-region games, but they could still win the region.
Yeah,
they
absolutely.
could be a 500 team or close to, maybe 6.
They'll be the Panthers last year. You know?
When the NFC. I mean, you could. You could realistically. I'm not saying this will happen, but you could drop Dorman, Somerville, Westside, and you know, you're all of a sudden you look up, you have a losing record, but you win that Burns game, and then you're thinking, oh well, we got a good shot to win the region. Maybe we do win the region. So, one more thing about Hillcrest. I don't think any coach, and you and I have been doing this show for many years, this is year 8 of the Scramble, I don't recall, and my memory's not as good, is a lot of people who have been covering the sport for a long, long time and people who are a lot older than me. I cannot recall, though, off the top of my head, a coach walking into a situation like Amos Lamb's walking into, and this is no disrespect to him at all, because I think he's a fantastic coach, but I can't recall, Alex, a situation that's set up more perfectly, more ready-made. Here's the keys, turn the ignition, and hit the gas pedal than what Amos Lamb's walking into, excuse me, at Hillcrest High School with the talent they have, the quarterback they have, the guys they have up front, and not to mention the 2028, 2029 class that's really good, that's really up and coming.
Yeah.
I know there's new coaching changes every year, Alex, but I just can't remember a time where a coach is walking into a situation as good as Amos Lamb. That guy, I mean, you can throw other situations out there. You can throw, let's go back to Burns for a second. You can throw Schuler Bentley walking into a good situation as an OC with all that talent and Trace Aguirre and Chu Harrison thinking, man, what a good situation for Schuler Bentley as first-year OC. But just from a head coaching standpoint, Amos Lamb's walking into a gold mine at Hillcrest High School. A lot of talent, a lot of young talent, Alex. And I don't think Hillcrest, going back to your point a minute ago about a Greenville County school, I don't think this is like a blip anymore where they're good once every few years. I think Hillcrest is a mainstay with the young talent they have coming up.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I mean, it helps 100% that Amos Lamb was already there in place as an offensive coordinator and an assistant coach. And so, I mean, for him to again, you mentioned it, I think you hit the nail on the head with here's the keys, put it in the ignition, turn it on, hit the gas. And I think that's it could not be better for Amos Lamb and Hillcrest. And, he's going to find out real fast in that game next week.
6 days, right?
Yep, 6 days.
My gosh. And that game's where?
At Dorman, yeah. Well, if my spreadsheet's up, frankly.
I think you're right.
We already found out once this morning.
When we only find one flaw in a million teams, you're in good shape.
So,
Texter asks, why did the Hillcrest coach leave, Bennett Swigert? Texter, more, I mean, look, not just to say more money is the only answer, but when you get a significant pay raise, that's not saying that's the only thing, but knowing Coach Swigert like I do, I will tell you this, and I'm not going to speak for him, but I am very close with Coach Swigert. It was not easy for him to leave. It was not easy at all, but when you do get offered something like he was offered at Clover, and it gives you the ability to change your life in a way financially to where you can have more money coming in. Let's just call it like it is. Have more resources financially and have a better lifestyle. Guess what? Most people are going to take it. And I went on a rant back on my show during the week, Alex, several months back about Greenville County. Like, I'm not making this about Greenville County again, but I just think you mentioned them earlier. I just think from an admin standpoint, Greenville County, and I don't know that this will fall on deaf ears or it'll fall to the right person or not, but I'll say it again. Greenville County, when you talk about being better at investing in football and making sure that Greenville County has what they need, oh, well, wow, they're getting turf. That's great. Turf don't win you football games. No. Greenville County, my biggest crutch with them was you can't let a coach like Bennett Swigert leave to go to Clover.
Correct.
And I know I'm not going to go into the details. I know a lot of the details on what happened because I'm close to the situation. I'm not going to get into that. But you just, like, Greenville County had a guy in Bennett Swigert in their county that's a really good football coach, and you've got to be able to, from an admin standpoint, every single school's in one district in Greenville County, right? You've got to be able to be competitive, and I don't know that they are right now. So when you see, oh, you're leaving Hillcrest to go to Clover, doesn't make a lot of sense. Well, when you get a pay raise, it does make sense. So it's tough. But Hillcrest, going back to them, they're loaded. They've got one of the better quarterbacks in the state in Jackson Free. Amos Lamb's going to do a great job, I feel like. And you said it, he's already been on staff. He worked with the offensive line. He called plays on the Greg Porter State Championship team. Yep. So he's very, very familiar with offensive play calling. Amos Lamb is. So I don't think that'll be a big issue. We did not really touch on the 4A. Let's get back to that for a minute. You brought it up earlier in the in the show, Alex, back in hour number 1. But before we run to a break, 4A, again, when you opened up the book and you saw Gaffney in 4A, that's where everybody went in terms of, oh, wow, Gaffney's for the first time in 4A. They're outside of that 5A cluster where they had been so long. The enrollment numbers obviously is what dictates the classifications for somebody out there listening that don't know, Alex. But starting with Gaffney, when you look at this, you talked about it with Burns and Dorman being a non-region game. Well, how about the Indians in 6 days open up with Spartanburg, and that game doesn't count for region, right? That makes a lot of sense, right? Gaffney, Spartanburg, one of the biggest rivals in the state of South Carolina, not a region game.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of those. And there have been years where Gaffney and Spartanburg haven't been in the same region, but at least they've been.
Sure.
There's always the possibility that they would meet in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And now you don't even have that. You don't even have one of the most storied rivalries and series in the state of South Carolina. There's not even the opportunity that they would meet again, down the road in November. And that's kind of one of those
what's
things.
sad.
I think back, the last time that Gaffney and Spartanburg played out of region was back in 2021 when Gaffney won the championship, but they still met in the upper state championship.
Same classification.
That same classification, that same
Yeah.
year. So, that's kind of one of those things where it's like, man, it kind of stinks
sucks.
that you got Spartanburg, Dorman, and Burns. They're all 3 non-region games for Gaffney. Regardless of it, whether it's a region game or a non-region game, the gate on those games is going to be phenomenal regardless.
Yeah,
but
I think the biggest thing for me, though, is you talk about, like, new classifications and new region realignments. Burns and Bowling Springs and Dorman being moved. It's not as big of a deal to me because guess what? If you're Burns and you want to play for a state championship, you still got to get through Dorman.
Exactly.
You still got to get through Spartanburg. You still got to get through Northwestern. Oh, by the way, you still got to get through Dutch Fork.
Yeah.
Like, good luck in 5A. But for Gaffney, to your point, playoffs come. It's totally different.
Yeah.
It's totally different. And Donnie Littlejohn, he hates hearing me say this. He hates it. He will send me a text if it gets back to him, and I hate it. But listen, my opinion: the next 2 years, the Gaffney Indians. Let's rewind. Before they moved to 4A, it was always state championship or bust in Gaffney.
Yep.
Always has been. Well, now that this is not disrespectful to any teams in 4A, but I'll say it again. I'm not going to back down from it. Gaffney High School should be playing for a state championship the next 2 seasons, and that should be their expectation, and that should be what happens. 4A, again, you've still got South Point, and you've still got Westside. You've still got T.L. Hanna. You've still got good teams. But traditionally, on a year-by-year basis, Gaffney's a better program, in my opinion, than South Point, then Westside, then Hanna on a year-to-year basis with the athletes. Gaffney, if they're not playing for 2 back-to-back, or at least just say 1, if they're not playing and winning 1 championship in the next 2 years, I think it's an utter disappointment. I do. I just in 4A, Donnie Littlejohn now in his 2nd season as head coach, you've got a prime opportunity. You avoid Northwestern in the playoffs, Dorman, Dutch Fork, Spartanburg, Burns. The list goes on and on. I know he won't like me saying that, but I think it's a disappointment if this team's not winning a state championship.
He's probably texting you now, but
it's just true.
I agree, no doubt with that, Cole. And you mentioned the teams that Gaffney would still have to go through in South Point. Greenwood, T.L. Hanna, they're there. But again, you mentioned it. Gaffney, year in and year out, typically is playing better football than those teams, and that's no disrespect to those teams. They're great programs, great coaches.
Westside's a phenomenal
program. Yes.
But South Point lost a lot of guys this year in the portal. I'm just saying.
But you look at teams like Gaffney, and they're playing completely new teams that these kids have never played before. And you look at it traditionally, Gaffney should go in there and they should beat Wade Hampton, Greer, Travelers Rest, Riverside. You get through that schedule, then your region championship comes down to Gaffney, Greenville at the end of the season.
I don't know, and I'm not being funny. I don't know that 21 points is scored on Gaffney in those 4 games.
Really?
I don't know. Wade Hampton, Greer, TR, and Riverside, I don't know that 21 points is scored in 4 games on Gaffney's defense.
Yeah.
I think Gaffney's defense is going to be phenomenal this year. Randy Birch back as DC. Yep. Maybe it is, but I'm telling you, it wouldn't surprise me if there were 2 or 3 goose eggs.
But you look at
in that region schedule.
You look at Gaffney, what they were able to do last year in the playoffs. I mean, Yeah, the loss to Northwestern, you look at it early on in that game, Gaffney was down, like 35 to 14, came back and lost only by 7 points. So a phenomenal effort by Gaffney to end the season last year, even in losing effort. But then you talk about that, you carry that over into this year, and then whoever you're going to end up facing in the 4A playoffs, yeah, it's probably going to be a new face, but you have that nameless, faceless opponent mentality, and you can go out there and beat whoever.
In what world is Gaffney Travelers Rest a region game? No disrespect to Chris Goodman and TR, but in what world are you waking up on a Friday during football season thinking, big region game tonight, boys, Gaffney and TR? Like, it's just, I know that sounds disrespectful, and somebody's going to get mad at me, but that just, what?
And that's one of those where we talked about it with Coach Real from Boiling Springs, where their matchup with Southside Christian's first ever matchup between those two teams. That's going to be the first ever matchup between Gaffney and Travelers Rest. Gaffney will play Greer for the first time since the 70s. They've scrimmaged in the preseason, but
they scrimmage every
it'll
year.
be the first regular season game for the first time since the 70s. Wade Hampton and Riverside, they've been in the region with Gaffney several years now.
Familiar,
and Gaffney and Greenville have had a little bit of a rivalry going on for several years too. But that'll be those two games for Gaffney, Greer and Travelers Rest. It'll be interesting to see what Gaffney does coming in. And, yes, they're down in 4A now. Do they keep that same mentality of, hey, we're a 5A team, though?
Yeah.
We're a 5A school. We're a 5A team.
I think it's going to be really fun to watch. Final segment, let's look at some matchups. We'll do it next.
Epicenter for highlights, news, and interviews. The Saturday Morning Scramble on the Fan Upstate.
It's the final segment, a short segment here on the Saturday Morning Scramble. I'm Cole Bryson, Alex Guest to my right. Want to say thanks to Ingles and Founders Federal Credit Union, as we're live wrapping it up at 8650 Asheville Highway in Spartanburg on this Saturday morning. Next Saturday, we will be on the road again at Ingalls on Anderson Road in Powdersville. Coming your way if you're up there in Powdersville, the Powdersville Wren area. Alex, excited for that. Let's take a look in these final few short minutes we have. Week 1, just 6 days away. Here we go. I see you have already made a lot of your picks. And let's
very early.
Very early?
Very early.
Yeah, you have,
very early picks. They will change.
You have to lay a pick out, and then you have to think about it. You have to marinate on it, right?
Yep.
Now, I know, I'm not bragging, but I know I beat you last year, but I might let you win this year.
Okay. We'll see. We'll see.
I might let you win this year.
You know, I do control the spreadsheets. So.
Yeah, you do. That's not fair. That's not fair. Independence at Burns. You know, Independence last night had a tough test in Hillcrest. I think Burns with West Charlotte, a good test there as well. But I think from an Independence standpoint, like, good situation for them going into that Burns game knowing what you have, because Hillcrest kind of pushed them around last night, Alex. So what's your lean on that one?
Yeah, I mean, my lean on that one's Burns. I think coming into the new season, you know, it's year number 2 in your new stadium, and not that really has any play on anything, but I think Burns just is going to, I mean, that trip down 85, you know, you got to go through Gaffney and you got to go through Spartanburg, get all the way over to Duncan. You're sitting in traffic, you know. Maybe that's what the problem with Independence was last night.
Maybe
in terms of just kind of being sluggish and all. But I'm going to go Burns.
Going Burns.
Yeah.
I think Burns has a really good shot to win the game. I like what we've seen so far from first-year OC and Schuler Bentley. From the offensive standpoint, they've got so many weapons offensively. I think it'll be a close game. East Side's going to Chapman in week 1. That one should be a lot of fun. We won't have time to spend. We don't have time to spend a few minutes on every game. But East Side at Chapman here in a few days. Hillcrest at Dorman. My gosh, what a tough game that'll be for Hillcrest and Dorman too to open the season. You know, Hillcrest and Dorman for the past few years have played each other at Dorman in a preseason scrimmage.
Yeah.
So Hillcrest is used to going over there. That one should be a lot of fun. Lawrence, J.O. Mann, Christchurch, Malden, Woodmont goes to Greer, Boiling Springs at Southside Christian. I don't be, again, I've said this a lot, don't mean to be disrespectful. I think Boiling Springs wins big here, Alex, over Southside Christian. Clover, Bennett Swaggart opens up his first ever game as head coach of the Blue Eagles at Fort Mill. Huff travels to Northwestern High School. Northwestern trying to defend. Actually not defend. Paige Wofford said attack their third state championship. Rock Hill goes to Irmo. Spartanburg at Gaffney, a game you'll be at. And, Alex, that one's got a lot of anticipation around it as well. Correct me if I'm wrong here. Gaffney looking for not 1, not 2, not 3. Let's go faster. Not 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, but 10 in a row if they win Friday, right?
Yeah, Gaffney looking for 10 in a row over Spartanburg if they win Friday. And my little Gaffney heart could not be more excited about that.
That's wild. That's wild to think, man, isn't it?
It is.
Rivalry?
It is. And you know, that you're talking about a rivalry that Gaffney's dominated really since 2003. They've won 19 of the last 24. But Gaffney only leads that series by 3 games.
A lot of Spartanburg wins back in the day.
Yeah, a lot of Spartanburg wins.
And speaking of back in the day, I mean, and correct me if I'm wrong here, back in the day you had Spartanburg Gaffney first and last. Is that right?
And then sometimes in the playoffs. There were some seasons they played 3 times.
Yeah, that's insane.
Yeah.
That one should be fun. I'm interested to see what the Colin kid can do at quarterback for Spartanburg. Mark Hodge, a little bit new, a couple of new coordinators, seeing what that Spartanburg team looks like. They've got a very good running back we know in Lynch, so I think they'll be able to run the football. But that one should be a lot of fun. Gaffney going for 10 in a row over Spartanburg this Friday. Let's see if they can continue their streak. It's a long-standing streak. You've got Easley Pickens, Fountain Inn, Greenville. That should be that one's an interesting game, isn't it?
Yeah.
Fountain Inn.
Brett Nichols and his Fountain Inn team, they looked really good to end the season last year. Again, in a losing effort there, but you know, Fountain Inn, we just talked about it off air. they're up and coming, and they're
Brett
such
Nichols is doing
a
a good
new
job.
program in their infancy, and Brett Nichols has done such an amazing job down there.
Riverside goes to Greenwood. That one will be interesting as well. TL Hanna going to BHP. Crane's first game, right?
Yep.
Crane's first game at BHP. We'll see what BHP, the Bears, can do. Westside goes to Ashley Ridge, taking the trip down to the lower part of the state next week. Blacksburg goes to Berea. Excited to see what Josh Batchelor has in store, Alex. I think that's an old Blacksburg, not rivalry, but some connection there with Drew Chisholm at Berea,
absolutely.
former Blacksburg coach, right?
Yep.
So a little connection there. Daniel goes to Wren. That should be interesting. Seneca Powdersville, I think that one will be a very close game. Should be a lot of fun there. Dixie goes to Southside. Wahala goes to Landrum. Emerald goes to Crescent. Palmetto goes to Pendleton. St. Joe's goes to Blue Ridge. John Boggs will get a home game to open the season. Woodruff Broome Friday. You know, Lynn Fleming was talking. I was talking to him a couple of weeks ago. They're excited about what they have. Woodruff last night, I think they still have some things to figure out. You lose Aiden Gibson, your team's going to be a little bit different. They've still got dudes. But, you know, Woodruff is just now one of the more interesting stories, not having that Aiden Gibson at running back. You still leaning Woodruff here?
No, early right now. I'm leaning Broome.
How about that?
Early in that one.
How
You know,
about that?
I think what Lynn Fleming has done at Broome over his, now 9-10 seasons at Broome is incredible
Good coach.
there. And, you know, I think there's a lot of turmoil going on down in the lower part of Spartanburg County with Woodruff right now, and losing Aiden Gibson over the summer. You know, we talked about it, touched on it very briefly earlier, right at a month ago or so. And so I think they're going to have to do some soul searching and figure out where they are and what they're going to do. But Broome, I'm going to pick them early.
Union County on the road. Brian Robinson's first game as head coach at Union County, going to Newberry. West Oak at Calhoun Falls Friday. Mountain View Prep is getting Ambassador Christian out of Statesville, I believe, somewhere up in that region or in that area. Abbeville, Saluda. How about that one for Abbeville and Saluda? Man, I know that Abbeville is good, but that one could be a really good opener.
Yeah, that's
really
an intriguing game. That'll be an incredible atmosphere.
It is. 96 at Mid-Carolina. North Side Christian?
There's Skiza.
Okay,
they defeated Greenwood Christian last night in their season opener.
For that.
So yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
And Ridge Spring Monetta at Ware Shoals. That's your slate in the Upstate for week number 1. It's here. We're back. We're so good to be. We're so glad to be back. Pac Fan Shuff gets sent on the Joy Law Firm text line and says, "Great show, guys. Glad the scramble is back. We are glad it's back as well. We appreciate all of you listening. You can go back and listen anytime on the free Odyssey app, fanupstate.com. We'll have all the links on our socials. We will see you again next Saturday. Real football will be played, and we will be here to talk about it right here on the Fan Upstate.